Hey there, welcome to week 2 of CS 201, computer programming for non-computer science majors. I am your instructor, Brian Baker. As always, that's actually not going to change. It's going to be the same week to week. So I could probably stop introducing myself. What do you need to succeed in week 2? Week 2 is going to be all about, I apologize for this, it's going to be about math. There's no other way around it. It doesn't matter what your discipline, what your career path, eventually math is going to rear its ugly head into your life, and you just need to accept this. Don't freak out about the math. Sincerely don't. Most of the explorations, the formulas are well known and they're put in for you. For your assignment this week, the math part is done for you, right? That stuff is laid out. It's going to be very easy. Don't freak out about the math. The important thing is that as you're creating these programs that use this math, understanding how those operations are working on the numbers and the variables that you are creating. So understand the process. That's the more important thing. This is not a math class, but that process of converting math expressions into a program is actually a useful skill. It's something you're going to need regardless if you're in business, psychology, whatever. Advice for this week. 1, read the text. Last week, you were probably able to get away with not reading the text, and that's fine. It was a fairly easy week. You were just setting up your environment. This week, there's going to be more involved. And so be sure to check it out, because even in the explorations, it just says, hey, why don't you play with some of the other operators you learned about in the text? Some of the operators are not going to be intuitive at first. And in part, you're going to think, oh, it's because this is so complicated. It's not. It's actually really, really simple. That's the problem. It's too simple for you. So integer division. So there's division with a single slash, right? Single slash actually does floating point division, meaning that if you do 11 divided by 3, you're going to get 3.666666, right? Which is what you would expect, because that's normal. If you do 11//3, you get integer division. Now, most languages do not have a separate operator for integer division. Python is kind of unique in that way. I think I like this. I think I like this. If you ask me another time, I might give you a different answer. Normally, if you just have an integer on either side of the divide operator, you get integer division. What is integer division? Go back to 3rd grade. Don't do your fancy 6th grade division. Do your 3rd grade division. 11 divided by 3 is 3. That is the answer. It has a remainder of 2. Remainders. Do you remember remainders? How long has it been since you've used a remainder? Well, welcome to computer science. You're going to use it again. And so / gives you the quotient. Wait, divisor? Yeah, quotient. Hey, I took several semesters of calculus. It'll give you the quotient after integer division. If you want the remainder after integer division, you use the modulo operator, which is basically the percent sign, which has nothing to do with percentages. It's just how you get the remainder after integer division. Things like that are not going to seem intuitive. Star is multiplication, just like you were using Microsoft Excel. Star is the exponent operator. Most languages do not have an exponent operator. You got to use a whole separate function for that. So this is a pretty nice full-featured language. And you're also going to be using variables. And these variables are, at least for this week, going to be coming from the user, so that we can make all sorts of changes, right? If I want to calculate how much income tax you owe, I need to know what your income is. And if I'm writing a program to do that, I don't know what your income is when I'm writing the program. You're going to have to provide that for me. And I'm going to need to hold on to it in some sort of location, right? A memory location that maybe I give a name, like income. And we'll call that little thing a variable. It's just a place, a location, a box that holds a variable that you give a name. And then whenever you use that name, you can get the value out of that box, right? So that's variables. And we're going to grab those from the users using this input function. That's all covered in the exploration. So make sure you play with it. And that idea of like, oh, okay, I'm going to get numbers from the user using input, and I can display information back to the user using print. That's your basic input-output operation for basic text, which is all we're doing here in Python in the first couple weeks. When you're getting stuff from the user, oftentimes you want to make sure that it's of a particular value, a particular type, right? So for reasons that I probably won't explain too much here, integer type numbers that are whole numbers, they have a whole separate pathway in the processor to actually do operations on them than what we call floating point numbers, right? These are numbers like floats that, or we call them floats, that have decimal points afterwards. The way you represent decimal points in binary ends up being completely different, and you need a whole separate set of circuitry to just add or subtract them or do anything to them. So we treat these numbers differently. Point being, you need to know the type. And so in the explorations, there's going to be a lot of talk about conversion from one type to another. So pay attention to that as well. Sometimes you're going to get the wrong answer, and it's a lot of times just because perhaps something was truncated that you didn't realize. I wanted those decimal places, but I lost them because I accidentally converted to an integer and didn't realize it. Your assignments for this week, there's actually only one required assignment, and that is the cooling bodies assignment. So basically, we put in the temperature of a body, and over a period of time, you will show what the temperature of that body should be. It's a little macabre, but I think it's fascinating. The other thing you have this week, and this is optional, it's up to 10 points of extra credit, which week 2, you're already getting extra credit, right? But you can do a team assignment. That team assignment, you can have up to 4 people on a team. I may set up some team slots in the people tab in Canvas so that you have the ability to communicate with each other if you want to join a team. Like I said, completely optional. You can have up to 4 people, and basically you're going to just be calculating some basic trigonometric functions, but like manually. So tangents, cosines, sines, etc. The formulas are all given for you. You just have to convert those formulas into the actual processes you would need to do using the operators. Any other advice for this week? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally is going to be helpful this week. That's parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Yeah. Your order of operations is going to matter. Python, like most programming languages, does take that into account. So whenever possible, if you're ever in doubt as to which operation comes first, use parentheses. I've got a theory that the more parentheses you see in an expression kind of determines how much of a control freak you are as a programmer, which is to say I put a lot of parentheses in my code because at this point, math, you can kind of figure out the order of operations. In some languages, how am I supposed to know whether or not the arrow comes before the dot or the, dereferencing operator comes before the, there's a lot of different operators that do different things. If you have any questions, send me something. But other than that, it's one assignment this week. That's all you have to do. Unless you want to get those extra credit points, in which case, get yourself a team and do a little bit more advanced math with trigonometry. All right, if you have any questions, email me, or better yet, don't email me, send me a message in Canvas. That's the much better way. It's going to break you through the noise. And I think I've pretty much answered everybody immediately this week if you sent me a message through Canvas. So that is definitely the hack to get my attention. All right, have a great week, and I will see you online.